ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So we will start our session on Mandukya. We have already covered a part of it, and today we shall continue on the remaining part. Now we examined the Jagrat Avastha and Susupt Avastha in detail. Now today we will go to we examined the Jagrat Avastha and Tejas Avastha, that is the dream state, in detail. And today we will examine the Susupt Avastha in detail and then move from there onwards. So this is the verse number 5, which is dealing with Susupt Avastha. इसका हिंदी अनुवाद इस तरह से है, जिस अवस्था में सोया हुआ पुरुष किसी भोग की इच्छा नहीं करता और न कोई स्वप्न ही देखता है, उसे सुसुप्ति कहते हैं. वह सुसुप्ति जिसका स्थान है तथा जो एक भूत प्रकृष्ट ज्ञान स्वरूप वाला होता हुआ ही आनंदमय आनंद का भोक्ता और चेतना मुख रूप वाला है, वह प्राज्ञ ही तीसरा पाद है. Now this is the third stage or the third dimension of the human soul. So we started that Om is everything, past, present and future, and that is the Brahma. Then the Upanishad says that I am Atma Brahma, that my own Atma is Brahma. And then the Upanishad started describing the 3 steps of the Atma or 3 dimensions of Atma. The first dimension was the Jagrat Avastha, that is Bahir Pragya, in which you look outside, you are in Sthul Sarir, that is gross body, and you understand the gross objects outside in the world. That is Sthul Avastha, Bahir Pragya. Then comes the Tejas Avastha, that is Antar Pragya, that you are not looking outside, but you are looking inside. And it is not Sthul, it is Tejas. It is in the form of rage. Whatever is there is Tej, not Sthul, not gross. So this was the the beginning of the Upanishad, the description of the 2 dimensions of soul, the Jagrat Avastha and the dream state. In both these states, there are 19 mouths of the human body that we examined, that the 5 senses of action, 5 senses of perception, 5 pranic energies, and 4, that is Man, Buddhi, Ahankar and Chit. These are the 4 other dimensions. So these are the 19 mouths through which we operate in this world. And then we also examined the 7 dimensions of the Supreme, the Almighty. All that we discussed in detail in our last session. Now today we need to examine the Susupt Avastha in detail, because Susupt Avastha is very important segment or the important dimension of the reality. Now, in this state, the projection of mind stops. In the dream state, the mind gets divided into 2 parts. One part is projecting the world outside, and other part is your own self, that is the subject, and the other one is the object. So the mind gets divided between subject and object. The objects are projected by the mind, and subject yourself, you are experiencing those objects. In the Susupta Avastha, the mind is absolutely still. There is no operation of the mind, and therefore there is no subject, there is no object. Both subject and object, they disappears in Susupta Avastha. The mind is absolutely, you can say, विलीन हो गया, it's completely disappears in the susupta avastha, totally. That is, and that is what you don't have bahir pragya, you don't have antar pragya. You are not looking outside, you are not looking inside. That bahir pragya, antar pragya has disappeared. The stool, that is the gross uh, world outside, and the tejas world inside, they have all disappeared. Then you are completely on your own. You are absolutely in your own consciousness. And that is what they call pragyan dhanam. Pragyan dhanam means that you are in your own, uh, consolidated consciousness. There's another word they have used, ekibhut, in this verse, that you become one single entity. There's no dvait, no duality. There's neither this nor that. There's only one single entity, and that is pragyan ghana. That is only consolidated, what you call consciousness. So the withdrawal of mind is the first thing. As a result, there's no dreams, there are no experience of any object, of anything. Consciousness is there still. Consciousness is still there, but it is not divided. It is in one single entity. So this is the general characteristic of susupti avastha, susupti state of human soul. Now, in this state, there is no agitation of mind. Mind doesn't exist, so there is no agitation. There is completely what you call deep-rooted happiness. Because when you get up in the morning after a deep sleep, you say that I had a wonderful sleep. Now, how do you know that? You know because you had a consciousness which was totally consolidated, which was in one single entity. And that gave you the maximum pleasure possible in the world. Because there's no other object in the world which can give you more happiness than a sound deep sleep. The deep sleeps, that is why everybody needs deep sleep. And after the deep sleep in the morning, each one of us will tell that I had a great sleep and it was very relaxing night. I had complete relaxation, my body is rejuvenated, my energy is restored, because that sleep gives you restoration of energy. So this is the characteristic of susupti. Now we have to understand this little bit more. In this state, there is no ego, because ego has disappeared. There is no ego. Ego is विलीन हो गया उसका. Ego का विलय हो गया consciousness में. So there is no ego either. There is no me at all. There is only pure consciousness. There is no me. No me has disappeared. You have disappeared. So this is very, very interesting. The 19 mouths have disappeared because none of those mouths exists. There is only pure consciousness which exists. And then if you look at this, if this state you arrive and you are still aware of your existence, what would happen? You would be completely blessed. And that is the state called samadhi. That you are in that state of deep sleep, totally consolidated consciousness in one single entity. At the same time, you are aware of it. Now, in the deep sleep, you are not aware of it. That is the drawback. That is the negative point. You are not aware of it. You become aware of it only when you wake up in the morning. But if you are aware of it, and that kind of a state is existence in your body, then what happens? That is called samadhi. The people who are in deep state of samadhi, that is their state. They are in the blessed state. And that is why people in the state of samadhi, they do not even feel hungry. They don't have to discard any waste from the body. They can stay in that state for some people can stay for months. When I went to Kailash Mansarovar in 93, I personally saw a saint. At that time, the temperature must have been at that altitude, approximately 17, 18,000 feet altitude. It was just close to Lipu Lake Pass at the border of China, India. I saw a person who was absolutely in his langoti, no clothing at all. I could not believe it. And then when I went to the Kailash mountain, the Tibetans have a ancient tradition. It's a 52-kilometer peripheric of Kailash mountain. During that peripheric, you have to pass through Dolma Pass. Dolma Pass is 19,600 feet. That is, approximately close to 6,600 meters. At that altitude, they do what they call Dandvat Parikrama. Dandvat means that you lie down on that snow, you measure yourself, and where your head ends, you put your foot again at that point, and then you continue without leaving the gap. So you cover the entire 52-kilometer distance of peripheric of Mount Kailash through Dandvat Parikrama. Imagine the kind of energy those people would have at that altitude, lying down fully, and then again starting from your head point, and then again lying down, then again lying down. They complete this parikrama in months, but they do. Now imagine the kind of consciousness they have inside to survive at that point. Obviously, I'm sure they won't be eating much, and they are surviving in that kind of temperature. So once you are in a state of samadhi, you can do these kind of feats. These kind of miracles can happen because your body gives you energy on its own without any input from outside. You don't have to discard any waste, and the system continues. That is what happens in the deep sleep. We get tremendous energy from inside without any input from outside, and we feel delighted, we feel energetic when we get up in the morning. So the state of samadhi is the state of deep sleep plus awareness put together. If you are aware of that, that is the samadhi. Now, if we examine these three states, the Jagrat Avastha, Tejas Avastha, and Susupti Avastha, you will see a pattern there. The pattern is that Jagrat Avastha, we call it in Sanskrit, it is called Sthul Sariram. Sthul Sarir. That you have a gross body and you recognize the gross objects outside. In Tejas Avastha, it is called Suksham Sarir. The Suksham Sarir means that your body is not operating. The Sthul part is not operating. Only the Tejas part, only the rage are operating. The whole system is operating in the form of rage, yourself as well as the outside world. So it is called Suksham Sarir. There is no object which can be physically touched, but you do all those activities in the Suksham form because all the 19 faculties or mouths of your body are operating in Suksham Sarir. And the third state, Susupti, is called Karan Sarir. It is the state where the body is in existence, the consciousness is in existence, but simultaneously they don't exist as well because there is no feeling of their existence. You are sleeping on the bed, but you don't feel that you are existing at all. So it is Karan Sarir. So these are the three states of the body which have been explained here. That is the Sthul Sarir, Suksham Sarir, and Karan Sarir. So that is the explanation of the three states given in Mandukya Upanishad. Now, parallel to those three states, there are also three cosmic states. Three cosmic states also go parallel to these states. So the gross body, that is the Sthul Sarir, is called Vaisnavar. Visva is the cosmic, you know, appearance. That is Visva. The whole cosmos is called Visva. So Visva is called cosmic appearance. So Vaiswanar means that appearance in the Sthul part, the what you call manifest universe is the Sthul Vaiswanar part. That is the Sthul universe, you can call it, the gross universe, the universe which has been manifest, which is revealed. Then the second part, like the Tejas state, there is also the gross, what we call, non-manifest, but in the form of rage. That is called Hiranyagarbh. You must have heard this word many times. Hiranyagarbh means the potential state. Like everything exists in the form of a seed. So the dream state is compared to Hiranyagarbh of the cosmic state. The Tejas Avastha and the Hiranyagarbh Avastha of cosmos are considered similar in the same way. And the third, which is called Susupti Avastha, it is similar to what we call Iswar. The word Iswar has its own significance. It is used for a consciousness which is universally spread, but which is not revealing itself. Which is like in the Susupti Avastha, you are not aware of your own self, your own consciousness, you are not aware of. Similarly, the Iswar is the word which has been given in Sanskrit to a state of the cosmos in which the consciousness exists all over, everywhere, pervading everywhere, but it is not felt. So these are the three corresponding states of the three states mentioned in Mandukya of the human soul, human Atma. Jagrat Avastha, Susupti Avastha, and Tejas Avastha. Jagrat, Tejas, and Susupti in that order. So it is Sthul Sarir, Suksham Sarir, and Karan Sarir. Similarly, it is Vaisnavar, it is Hiranyagarbh, and it is Ishwar. So this is the explanation of the universe and the self put together, combined. Now we have to understand this whole process in a comparative study. When we get up in the morning, you feel that you had a deep sleep. Why do you feel that? Because it's a comparative state. After waking up, you feel it was the state. Presume a person throughout his life has only remained in Jagrat state, only remained, in the Sthula Avastha like we are now, right now. Can he explain the meaning of Tejas or dream state? He cannot. He cannot understand that Tejas state. Even if we try to explain to him, he will not be able to understand it. Because you have to experience it to understand it. Similarly, a person who has all the time been in dream state, he will not understand the meaning of Jagrat Avastha. The both of these people will feel that I am living in a real world. The person in Jagrat Avastha will feel that I am living in the real world. The person in the dream state will also feel that I am living in the real world. And that is what happens to us when we are in the dream state. In the dream, you do everything what you are doing now. You talk to the people, you fight and you argue, and you eat food, and you even discharge your waste, and you do all kinds of things in the dream state which you do in the Jagrat Avastha. So a person who has constantly been only in dream state throughout his life, he will feel that this is the reality. This is what the world is all about. Similarly, a person who has been in a Jagrat Avastha, in the waking state all the time, he will feel this is the only world, there is no other world. But when you pass through the two states, you feel the difference. When we see the dream, we feel the difference. Oh, that was only a dream. This is the reality. Now, why do you call this reality? You feel that you can touch the things, you can feel them, that is what is reality. The guy sitting in the dream also feels that this is the reality. So this is also a reality, that is also a reality. Now, who will decide which is the better reality, which is a not good reality, or which is the genuine reality, or which is the higher reality? Who can decide that? This is a comparative study. We do that comparative study of the three states. Don't we do? So the person who is doing this comparative study, who is that? He is beyond the three states. You get my point? You cannot do a study if you are constantly only in dream state. Throughout your life, if you are in dream state, you cannot do a comparative study. If you are constantly in waking state, you cannot do a comparative study. You cannot understand what is dream state. You cannot understand what is susupta avastha. Similarly, a person who is in susupta avastha throughout his life, he cannot understand what is waking state and what is dream state. But we understand all those three because all the three appear and disappear in our system. In our Atma, all the three appear and disappear. You're getting this point? This is very important because none of these are realities. They appear and then they disappear. The reality is beyond that. That is called fourth. That is, we will come to that later. That is called fourth in this Upanishad. That is also called Turiya by some other writers. But here the word Turiya doesn't appear in this. Here it appears fourth. So that is the fourth state where all this appears and disappears. Now let me explain this with some examples. You have gold ornaments. You take, for example, a necklace. A person who doesn't understand gold at all, how will you explain gold? You say this is made of gold. So he will say, okay, you show me the gold. How will you show him the gold? There's no way to show him the gold. The ornament itself contains the gold. Then you have a ring of the gold. The person says, this is the ring. So he says, show me the gold. Now he says, this is gold. So the gold and ring and the gold and the necklace and the gold and bracelet, they are all there. The gold is there in each one of them. Without gold, there is no necklace, there is no ring, and there is no bracelet. All the three have gold and they are made of gold. Similarly, the waking state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state, all of them have that fourth state. Without that fourth state, none of these are possible. They appear and disappear in that fourth state. Let me give another example. We have this vast empty space. You create a house, you demolish the house, space goes back to space, the house disappears. You create a warehouse, you call it a warehouse. It is created, it is destroyed. Then you create a shopping mall there, it is created, it is destroyed. Where do you create all this? You create in that empty space. In that empty space, without that space, can you create a shopping mall? Can you create a house? Can you create a godown or a toilet? You can create nothing of them. that space is what you call invariably a most important component of all these states which we are talking about. Without that space, nothing can be created. Similarly, the fourth state of the human soul, the Turiya, is invariably the part of all the three. Without that fourth, these three are not possible. Let me take one more example. You have an ocean, vast ocean. It is, what is an ocean? You have a lake, vast lake. You have a river. You have glaciers. Now, none of them can exist without water. Water is an inseparable component of the ocean, of the river, of the lake, of the glaciers. You might give them different names, but without water, there is no ocean. Without water, there is no river. Without water, there is no lake. Without water, there is no glacier. So water is the essential, inevitable component of all the four, while we give them different names. Exactly in the same way, the fourth is the inevitable, essential ingredient or ingredient of the three states which we experience in our life. But we don't feel about the fourth. We don't give any recognition to the fourth. That appears only when we think. Most people do not realize that without a space you cannot create a house. They only talk about house and go down and demolishing the house and creating a new one. They don't realize that the house, the space is the inseparable part of all that. Exactly the same way, we in our life do not feel that fourth is the inseparable part of all the three. And without the fourth, you cannot realize these three. The difference which you are making is impossible to make unless you are in the fourth. How do I distinguish you and me? Because you are separate from me. So I'm separate and you are separate. I'm the subject, you are the object. So I feel this is Sharlaji and this is Rajesh and this is Kuldeep or this is Tarun. Because you are separate than me. So I can distinguish the two. Now, how do I distinguish that this is the waking state, this is the dream state, and this is the deep sleep state? How? It is the fourth which is distinguishing all that. The fourth enables you to distinguish all the three. Without the fourth, you cannot distinguish these three. For example, I gave you the example that if a person has lived all his life only in waking state, he cannot distinguish what is the dream state and what is deep sleep. It is impossible for him because he has all the time lived in the waking state. Similarly, a person who has lived all the time in dream state cannot understand what is waking state and what is deep sleep. He will say, this is the world which I am living in. So, this is the crux of this Upanishad. We will go into the details of how to describe that fourth, because the description of the fourth is like describing the gold without an ornament. How do you describe gold without a ring or without a bracelet or without a biscuit or without a coin? It has to be in some form. But without gold, there's no coin, there's no bracelet, there's no ring. So it is inseparable part, but it is not easy to describe it separately. Let me give you another example, because this is the most significant and important part of this Upanishad, and we must know it very properly. For example, what happens in our life is something like this. A young child goes to a cinema hall. the cinema has already started. He gets involved into all kinds of scenes in the cinema. No, he feels emotional, he feels angry, he gets feeling of hatred, he gets feeling of love, he feels excited, he feels very anxious, he is disappointed. All kinds of feelings come into him during the picture which is going on there, and he is involved with the entire process there. The film ends, he comes out. Next day he goes for another film. He passes through the same emotional cycle and he comes out. This is exactly is happening with us in our life. We come into this world as a child. We get involved into this world in which we have all kinds of emotions. We are angry sometimes, we are upset sometimes, we are happy sometimes, we are unhappy sometimes, we are highly, passionate sometimes we are dispassionate, sometimes we have feeling of hatred, sometimes we have jealousy. All this continues. Then the film ends, we die and disappear. Next life comes, again we come into a new film. We watch, we behave in the same fashion with all kinds of emotions. The life continues and again the life ends, and we never realize what is the play of the film. The child who enters the cinema hall, he never realized that whole play is sound and light. There's nothing beyond that. There's a screen on which the sound and light is played. That screen is our inner soul or consciousness or whatever you may call it. And the sound and loud light, that is the vibrations, that is the om which is playing everything here. So that play is going on inside our own consciousness, and we are getting engaged into this world. This is what the whole life is all about. The life is merely a play of light and sound, or the play of Om in that sense, in which all these things appear and disappear, giving us emotions, giving us all kinds of thoughts, giving us all kinds of ideas, pleasure and pain. And we continue and we die, then we appear again on the next film and next life that continues the same way and disappears. We, without realizing where this is appearing and where this is disappearing, and why it is appearing, why it is disappearing. So, this is what this Upanishad wants to tell us, that everything appears and disappears in yourself. I am Atma Brahm, that is the word which has been used. ये ब्रह्म जो है इस आत्मा में ही है, ये आत्मा ही ब्रह्म है, इसी में सब कुछ अपीयर होता है, इसी में सब कुछ डिसअपियर होता है. जैसे जागृत अवस्था अपीयर होती है, डिसअपियर हो जाती है, ड्रीम अवस्था अपीयर होती है, डिसअपियर हो जाती है, सुसुप्त अवस्था अपीयर होती है, डिसअपियर हो जाती है. Exactly the same way, the whole universe appears and disappears, and we remain engaged with this world. So there's a cosmic aspect of it, which we discussed, that is Vaishnavar, Hiranyagarbha and Ishwar, that the cosmic aspect of Sthul, Tejas, Sthul, Suksham and Karan Sarir. And there is a individual aspect, that is the Sthul Sarir, Suksham Sarir and Karan Sarir. And global aspect or cosmic aspect is Vaishnavar, Hiranyagarbha and Ishwar. So this is how this whole universe has been explained in a few words. Now the rest of the Upanishad, from 6 verses onwards, we have come only up to the 5th verse so far. 6th verse onwards is the explanation of that 4th, that Turiya state. What is that? In fact, the verse number 6 goes into profound details in explaining that. saying that it is unexplainable but still explaining it. And that is very interesting. We will discuss that later, but today we should uh, understand this fundamental point that as the gold appears in the form of different ornaments, this soul or this consciousness appears in different states, which we feel every single day: waking state, dream state, and deep sleep state. So this appears and disappears, appears and disappears. And we are able to understand it because we have that fourth state, which enables us to understand. That fourth is the subject which is watching these three. Without that subject, you cannot understand these three. You will have to meditate on this to understand it fully. Because you cannot understand somebody else unless the somebody else is object and there is a subject. The object and subject is a must. Like I can understand you because you are object and I am the subject. I am understanding you, that you are, a separate person than me. Similarly, the fourth is understanding these three states, that there is a waking state of mind, there is a dream state of mind, there is a deep sleep state of mind, and the fourth is the subject of these three. These three are the objects. They appear, they disappear. So this is the world in which we live. This is what we call, as I explained, in the form of a film. And we come into this world, we see this film, we remain engaged with variety of emotions in this world without realizing how this world is operating. We don't realize the sound and light which is making it operate. And that is the Om. And that is why this word Om has also been taken in English language. Why this word called omnipresent, everywhere present? Because Om is present everywhere. Omniscient, you know everything, that is omniscient. This word is not only Sanskrit word, but it is the word of different languages. Omnipresent, omniscient, omni, there are some more words, all powerful. So this word Om is the one which is projecting this entire universe on our screen, which is the consciousness or soul, in which we are in one particular state. We are Bahir Pragya, that we look outside. We are Sthul, that is, we look at the gross objects. That state is called Jagrat Avastha. When we are Bahir Pragya and we look at the Sthul, the solid objects, we touch this screen and we touch this mouse and we touch this, table. There you feel the Sthul part of it, the solid part of it. Then there is a second state on which the Om appears, that Brahm appears, and that state is Antar Pragya. It is created in your own self. It is Tejas, it is not Sthul. It is made of rage, it is made of light, in which a world appears, in which you also appear as subject and the world appears as object. And you operate through the same 19 mouths. So this is the second part. The third part is the one in which you go to a deep sleep state. The mind is completely inactive. There are no what you call expectations and no activities. Everything comes to a total halt. It's a complete cessation of activities. And you remain still in one single consolidated consciousness. But you are still alive. When you get up in the morning, you say, oh, I had a great sleep. So these are the states which come and go into this consciousness because of the play of light and sound, play of Om, you can call it in that sense. That Om plays, Om is the vibration. That vibration plays. And this is what modern science has also now come to the conclusion. We have heard about quantum physics. We have also heard about what we call particle physics, that you break an atom into particles, subparticles. When you keep breaking an padarth, you keep breaking an object, keep breaking any particle, any atom, ultimately it turns into a wave. You can Google and you'll find all kinds of theories on this. Every scientist will tell you that it turns into a wave. What is that wave? Wave is basically a vibration. And then there are different clusters of waves which can be created. And the whole quantum physics is based on those clusters of waves. That this particular cluster of wave can cause this cluster of wave can lead to this cluster of wave can lead to that. The whole creation comes from that wave, and wave turning into different clusters and forming different objects and different aspects of our life in this world. So don't think this is all a dream. This is all a reality. This is not a dream. This is all a reality. Deep dream is also a reality. Deep sleep is also a reality, and this is also a reality. But this reality is transient reality, which is happening on that fourth reality, which is real, which is permanent, eternal reality. On that eternal reality, the play of sound and light plays. And that is where we remain engaged in this world. So this is what I will call, the fundamentals of this Upanishad. But we have to understand what is that fourth. That we will consider in the next session, next Saturday. Now, when the cessation of all the activities take place in Susupti, then all your dukh, because like Buddhism, Buddha says, ये संसार दुख से भरा हुआ है, दुख ही दुख है इसमें. He starts in that sense. And दुख से निवारण किया जा सकता है, दुख से दूर हुआ जा सकता है. Then he gives his, eightfold theory of how to get out of dukh. So similarly, when you have attained a state of complete cessation of activity, when mind has no vikriti, all the vratis have come to a cessation. That is what Patanjali said. Vrati का जब निरोध हो जाता है तो कंप्लीट समाधि में आप स्थित हो जाते हैं. तो दैट निरोध ऑफ द व्रति takes place in the state of deep sleep. At that time, we get out of all dukh, all the problems of life. There are three varieties of dukkhas in the world. The first is adhyatmic dukh. Adhyatmic dukh is body related. You have, pain in the body, you have some ailment in the body, you eat something and there's a food poisoning, and there's high blood pressure, there's low blood, anything to do with the body or mind. You are stressed and you are having very negative thoughts. So that is adhyatmic dukh. Adhyatmic dukh is body and mind which is causing you pain. That is adhyatmic. Then there is what we call adhibhotik dukh. Adhibhotik dukh is the one which is caused by others. Somebody else comes and hurts you. Somebody abuses you. Somebody is, using rough language against you. Somebody is physically hurting you. So that is caused by others. That is the adhibhotik dukh. And then there's a adhidevik dukh. Adhidevik dukh is basically which is caused by natural forces. For example, there's an earthquake, or there's a flooding, or there is a heavy rainfall, or very severe snowfall, or things like that, which cause you problems. So these are the three varieties of pains or distresses we have in life. All these three come to a total halt when the complete cessation of activities happen. For example, in a deep sleep, if there's an earthquake, you don't even know there was an earthquake. I was posted in Mexico, and there used to be practically an earthquake every day there. They say there's 365 earthquakes in Mexico City every day, every year. So we never felt the earthquakes, because once you have a deep sleep, you never feel it. While you are awake, you feel it. You feel the earthquake. So even earthquakes, the natural disasters, you don't feel. If there's a volcanic eruption next to you, you don't feel it in your deep sleep. So you are able to get out of all the three varieties of dukkhas. That is adhyatmic, adhibhotik, and adhidevik. All these dukkhas stop bothering you once you are in that fourth state. So the fourth state is basically gives you a total impression that you are away from this transient world which appears and disappears in the form of Jagrata Avastha, in the form of Tejas Avastha, and in the form of Susupti Avastha. So this is where I will stop today. If you have any questions, please let me know.